Now, whether you have walked a Camino before, or maybe you're one of these people who's desperate to get out there and walk your first Camino, we all love to share and hear top tips for walking Caminos. And we have a bit of a Camino expert with us today, Sara Dhooma, who has walked at least 12 Caminos, I think, all different ones. And so Sarah's going to be sharing her tips this week. That's awesome. Coming right up. So, Sarah, thanks for joining us again. It's wonderful to talk to you. I feel like I know you so well because I've watched, I don't know, not all your videos probably. I don't want to sound like a stalker, but lots of them. And we must put a link to your channel down below. But you have walked, I think, at least a dozen Caminos, the more populous ones like the Francis, the more remote ones. Particularly for people who haven't walked a Camino yet, what would be your top tips? Any kind of tips?
Ooh, I'm full of tips, so I'll just kind of share ones that come off top of mind. First of all is with footwear. So you see on a lot of literature and things, these big, heavy hiking boots, and then you get in your head because you're walking a long time and this is a trek, you need these big, heavy hiking boots. Now, for most of the Caminos, including the very popular Camino Francis and the Portuguese, you're not going to be going up into any mountainous, rough terrain that's going to be really kind of tricky and uneven. For most of the time, you're going to be on flat ground. Now, you might be going up and down, but it's going to be paved or hard packed or well-established trail. And for that, those clunker of boots can actually cause you more harm than good. So one of my top tips is to wear hiking shoes or trail running shoes that are going to be light and cushioned and comfortable. You're going to have your feet stay cooler, and cooler feet means less sweating and less chance of blisters. And with less weight on your feet, it's actually going to make your body feel better as you walk. So unless you have a lot of ankle stability problems, there is absolutely no need for those heavy, clunky boots.
Great tip. I've only walked 3 Caminos so far, and I have walked them in Salomon boots, quite lightweight boots. Mm-hmm. And a great physio in Spain looked at my boots last time I was walking, and he said, "Why you wear those? You don't need those. Too heavy." So I'm going to go for trail runners. So look, someone's going to ask below, but I'm going to ask now, what kind of trail runners do you wear?
Oh, I love Salomon. I've been wearing Salomon for years. So I've worn 2 different types of shoes on the Camino, the Salomon Synops and the Salomon Triple Crown Odyssey. And I'll be like the Synops morphed into the Triple Crown Odyssey, and I'll probably just stick with that shoe for the rest of my life. And I use it for wilderness backpacking too. It's an awesome shoe.
I have to say,
built it for long distances.
Yeah, I love my Salomon GTX boots, and I'm actually I'm going out this week to buy 3 different types of trail runners, and I'm going to trial them because it's all new to me wearing these very lightweight shoes. So I'm going to get the shoe version of my boots, and then I'm going to try I think you pronounce it Hoka One, the Stinsons, and I'm going to try one from Saucony, the Peregrine. Mm-hmm. So if I can find them. Okay, so footwear, number 1 tip. What's the next one?
One tip, if it's your first Camino, don't do too much planning in advance. You can have a kind of a rough idea where you want to be, but things are going to come up like weather, hiking companions, injury, or some amazing unexpected events might happen, like a big festival in a village or a town, that it would be an absolute shame to miss. So you want to build in some flexibility. So if you build in some extra days at the end, and you haven't used those extra days, maybe you can then take a tour down to Finisterre or walk down to Finisterre, or just spend extra time sightseeing. don't try and overschedule everything in advance.
Great tip. You remind me of my very first Camino. I met a lovely lady from Arizona. Hi, Mary, if you're watching. And like we were saying on an earlier chat, sometimes you just click with people that you're walking with. And Mary and I walked together and off and on for a few days. And she was so frustrated because she'd gone with a group and all her accommodation was booked ahead. And another thing that happens, she was getting really bad feet, bad blisters. And she had to push on, because her accommodation was booked in a particular town or something like that. So, yeah, I think that's a great tip. Be flexible. Don't plan too much. Maybe don't plan too far ahead.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's number 3?
Number 3 is don't overpack. Don't pack too much, because guess what? You're in Spain and you're walking through some big cities. So pretty much anything you're going to need, you're going to be able to pick up along the way. In terms of clothing or equipment, Decathlon is everywhere. There's usually a Decathlon city that is in the center of the bigger cities. So if you want to pack some extra warm clothes because you think it might get cold, don't do it. Just buy it along the way, because you may not need it after all. Because when you have a small, light backpack, you're going to have more energy at the end of the day. Same thing with overpacking food. You're going to be able to get food very, very often. I met some Italian guys and they brought a month's worth of pasta in their backpack because they didn't think they could get good pasta in Spain. Well, I'll tell you what, the big supermarkets have great selections. You don't have to worry about it. Also, do you really want to be cooking every night? Don't you want to go out and try some of these amazing restaurants and places and specialties in places like Pamplona?
Yeah,
I know I do. So don't bring too much food from home.
Yeah, I mean, eating out is not that expensive. You can, there's the pilgrim menus for 10, 11, 12 euros or something. But there's a lot, more inexpensive things as well. So I think a lot of people feel like they want to cook because that'll keep the cost down. But I don't know. By the time you've done all the shopping and stuff, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a way to save money. One thing that I would suggest that you do, if you stay at an albergue with a kitchen and you really click with a group of people, try having a group meal. It is a lot of fun when everyone kind of potluck buys or prepares an item, and then you have a feast and you have a memory you'll never forget when you sit down to that big meal.
Yeah. I think when people share Camino memories, 8 times out of 10, it's going to be that. There was this shared meal we had in such and such a place, and this Italian lady cooked this and somebody else cooked that. Yeah, great tip. Okay, so that's 3. We got another one?
Another tip is to spend a little bit of time on reflection, because by the time you reach the end of the Camino, everything is going to feel different. So at the start of the Camino, think about why you're walking it and what this is all about, and then pay particular attention in the first 3, 4, or 5 days, because the feeling of what it's like to sleep in a dorm with a whole bunch of people, or the feeling what it's like to be on a walking schedule and not worry about obligations at home or having to go to work. Because by the end of the Camino, it's going to feel routine, and it kind of takes away some of that specialness you feel at the beginning. So if you want to just reflect in your mind, or you want to journal, or you want to video something for yourself, when you reach Santiago and you go back and you look at those first few pages, you're going to be really surprised. And I just think it's a great way to kind of treasure and grow from the experience that you've had.
Wow, you got some good tips. You know what I was thinking when you were saying that? And it's something that I tell people all the time, that getting to Santiago is not the purpose.
Mhm.
And you know, my very first Camino, it was probably only then that I fully understand what was meant by the journey is the destination, or however that quote goes. It is all about the journey. And I think for people who walk their first Camino, they can be quite surprised at how they feel when they get to Santiago. You can feel a real letdown. It's like
Yes.
this joyous time I've had for, you know, so many days and weeks, it's over. And it can be like this real anticlimax. So I would say enjoy every minute and every day of the walk.
Yeah, and embrace the hardships,
Yeah.
embrace the brutality of it, because
Mm.
when you have those sour moments, it makes the sweeter moments even sweeter.
Mm.
If you've lived in comfort all your life, how do you know when something is good or bad?
Yeah, and I think we get a great sense of achievement through it as well.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sure you've got injuries, you know, on Camino. I certainly have. And, you know, you might be halfway through the day and it's like, I don't want to be here anymore. This is the
Mhm.
last place I want to be, you know, and I hurt and I'm tired. But you get in at the end of the day and you go, I did it.
Mhm.
I wasn't sure if I was going to make it, but I made it. And then the next day you're feeling more refreshed and you're off again. So I think you get this continual sort of re-energizing as you're walking and as you overcome things and learn new things.
Yeah.
Mm. One final
So,
tip. What
yeah,
do you got
one
up your
final
sleeve?
tip. Okay. So, for people out there who are out of shape or they've never done much walking and they want to do the Camino, if you don't have time to train or you don't have the capacity to train, you can still do it. You can, if you're walking the Camino Francis, you can get to St. John Pied de Port and you can modify your first number of stages. You know, if you only want to go 5 kilometers to start, you can utilize a taxi service and just go 5 kilometers and come back to where you're staying. You can modify and go as slow as you need. You can do it. However, if you want to have a more enjoyable Camino, it's better to start a walking regime before you get there. Because even if you're fit enough, say, to go 15 or 20 kilometers a day, if you haven't trained, your body, your skeletal system is not used to the walking and you're going to feel a little wiped out. And that makes the difference between getting to the albergue and flopping down in the bed and just wanting to go to sleep and or being a little bit fitter from walking, getting there, taking your shower, feeling refreshed, and going out to tour the village and visit the church and go out to eat and get more out of the experience. So if you can't train, don't worry, you can still do it. But if you can train, all the better.
What a wise pilgrim you are. That's great advice. And in fact, if you're new to this channel, have a look around because I've done a couple of videos on, I think I called one, you know, Fat Pilgrim or something, which is me, because I absolutely fooled myself. I've been overweight for the last 20 years or so. And I had a very painful first Camino, second Camino, and third Camino because I fooled myself that I can do this being overweight, significantly overweight. And I proved that I could do it because I
Mm-hmm.
made it before. Not again, because it does detract. You know, you're going to be a lot more tired. You're going to hurt a lot more.
Yeah.
And so I bit the bullet and I'm now 20 kilos lighter and I'm going to be 10 kilos lighter again before I do my next one.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be done. It just hurts more.
It can be done. You can push through, but if you want to have a better time, get fit first.
Yeah, good excuse to get fit. Well, Sarah, I think we're running out of time. Great tips. I loved your tips. So thank you very much for that. I'll make sure we put a link down below because you've got to get onto Sarah's channel. She's got some great videos there of all the different Caminos. And they're really entertaining. Well done for those. So thanks for watching, folks. And we'll see you next week. And thank you again, Sarah.
Thank you.